Okay, all right. So I think we can make a start. And just before we go, I would like to introduce a new person on the call, who's Alexey Osipov, a guy from Kazakhstan dev.net community who joined us today to make some Holy War topics, to discuss some Holy War topics, to discuss some .NET things, and just to be here and bring some joy because he's a really cool guy.
Thank
So
you.
Alexi, how are you doing today, Alexi?
I'm cool. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Yeah, and thanks for inviting me here. Yeah, it's a lot of pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks.
Pleasure to see you here, Alexi. So hope
Thanks.
this is just the
Thanks.
beginning of our collaboration between our communities, and we will
For
have a lot
sure.
of awesome events in the future.
Thanks so much.
Right. So just to do some warm up, I'm really happy that we have Anton Kalashnikov, who asks us again and again for some fun questions. I think it could be a good warm up for us. Let's try to brainstorm. So he has
I
a
was Googling
question.
this actually.
Yeah, no chances. I was thinking for the whole day, for the whole yesterday, about the potential answers on that. The only clue that came to my mind was like about, okay, six pack is usually the term that is used for people who are doing workout and who has some have some really strong core. And core is, it's .NET Core, so something related to that. But I really don't know the answer. Alexi, what's your opinion?
Oh, I was Googling this, and actually there was nothing about .NET developers or something. It was just all about beer. So I'm stuck with that. Really, I'm very excited to know what it is actually. What's the answer for that?
Uh, Alexander, do you have any opinion? Artur?
Uh, yeah, I have one. Not sure that is correct. So look,
Okay.
then when you are going to drink a beer in some in some situation, it means that you are ready some unexpected challenge or so.
Okay.
It means that the code review, it will be some not super usual process for you or so.
Okay.
You want to it will be so bother even that you want to drink something like a beer maybe
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. Well, okay, that's quite straightforward, right? So it's like
Hmm.
when people like some jokes in that way that you've just shared. I usually say that it's like a hammer joke because it's like very simple, very straightforward. Okay, well, that might be an answer. Arthur, do you have any opinion on that?
I have the same as you regarding six-pack ABS. Yeah, maybe something
Okay.
like that.
So probably that's because of your experience, guys, right? So you probably had some challenging code reviews on your project, and you brought some six pack of beer to handle it. I suspect that's
Will
why
we
you
know
answered.
the real answer from Anton? Will we know it?
I hope. Do we have Anton on the
I'm not
call?
I'm not
Yes,
living this call
he's here.
without the
Yes,
answer.
we have Anton on the call. We
I
can
Anton,
won't
ask
be
please.
able to
him.
continue my work today. You should understand this is all getting serious.
Anton, please help Alexei to get back to the work. Share with us the
Uh,
answer.
Hi guys. So um, originally the answer is about interfaces
Okay.
and extending behavior. So it means you're making code review this one interface, but you can also drink beer and kind of you change your behavior, something like
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Okay.
that's pretty much good. I like it.
That's cool. That's cool. Cool. Thanks, Anton. I hope that next time you will prepare more questions for us. We can even make this like official part of our morning coffee. We can start every session with these tricky questions from you. Thanks a lot, Anton,
Yeah,
for
And this
bringing
is
I
the
some
knew.
last.
fun.
This is. I just like to state that this is the last time you see me with water on the calls.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like to change my behavior right away.
Right. Okay. So let's get back to our URLs for today, and let's do some serious discussions because we have some serious topics for today. And I really would like to start from this one related to the situation with MOQ library. I hope you all guys are aware what happened previous week with this one. So MOQ is a really popular one. It's de facto a standard in unit testing. So you usually, when you create your unit test project, you usually add some XUnit or NUnit framework, and then you add MOQ, because this is the library that helps us to build some stubs, to do some dynamic behavior for these stubs, which is really cool. I used it for many years, and I was really shocked with the situation that happened previous week. So just long story short, one of the recent versions of MOQ library started including some suspicious code that actually does the following. It actually tried to fetch your email address from your Git repository, and then it sent this email address to SponsorLink, which is a project that helps open source projects to gather some donations, gather some sponsorship, and in case if there was no donation from this email, it started like complaining with warnings. It obviously slowed down your build, and the situation was even worse on Mac, on macOS, where this SponsorLink code even broke the build. So macOS users were not able to build their projects, which is like a really scary situation. But for me, even the whole this, like, it's not only about the fact that it checks the donations, but this is something that you are not expecting from the community project, from such popular community project, that it starts exposing your email address, starts slowing down your build, because on Windows and Linux, if you take a look at this issue opened, it slowed down the build, and even it's just something that you don't expect. So this is not acceptable from my perspective. So I was really shocked. Guys, what do you think?
And look, it is not very first time when we see this kind of behavior from open source product. I was Googling about it and I found a few examples. For example, a few years ago in January, a pretty popular library from JS World, Fake and ColorJS, they decided to bring some, deliver some spoiled version of their library. And so as a result, 1,000 application which is using the library was, disrupted, completely disrupted. And it was intentional. It was kind of intentional behavior from developers. And this way, they just want to draw some attention on the problem, because they want to have some. I don't know. It is not a charity that want to have some payment for their job, because really, if you have a pretty small library like a pet project and only a few people use it, and it is not super hard to support it. But imagine that your library started to use a lot of companies, right? For example, really big companies, you have to spend all day, for example, to support it.
So you are trying to put yourself into the shoes of the library supporters, library maintainers, and you think that obviously for such important projects like MOQ, and I think it was really important project, there should be kind of mechanism to support these maintainers, to pay them for their support or something like that. Am I right? That's what you are trying to say, Alexander?
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that definitely they'd have to have somehow some a payment for their job.
Yeah,
I have one more example about the stuff. For example, Log4j, it is super popular library in JS world, Java world, right? And about a year ago, they found some critical issue in the security in this library, right? And they spent team of Log4j spent 24 hours, more than 24 hours to fix the problem, and even after this, the community was not satisfied of them. So it is completely free. They spend their time, but the community says, "Oh, guys, you're kind of crappy."
Yeah, I mean it's really easy to lose your reputation when you do some mistakes, or when you do such things like MOQ folks did. So yeah, community is quite cruel, unfortunately. Yeah, so we usually don't want to apologize anyone once we see that they did some crappy thing. So it's a good point that there should be a mechanism to support important projects, but I think there was an attempt in .NET World at least to do that, which was this .NET Foundation, right? That was leading by John Galloway for some time. I'm not sure what's happening with this nowadays, but I think they tried to build a kind of umbrella for a set of the most crucial projects, and the efforts that they did there, they tried to guarantee the support for the most crucial projects. But I think there was something wrong with this whole organization, right? So assuming like
changed it?
Yeah, yeah, let's try to brainstorm. For example, we have NuGet, right, which is an ecosystem, probably the only packaging ecosystem in .NET World, right? So and there are like millions of libraries hosted there. So probably for a kind of so NuGet could be like a counter, could be an argument to, okay, so this project has million of downloads every day. Well, no, not probably every day, but during a couple of months, it's very popular. So probably this project deserves to get some donations from not from the community, like guaranteed donations from the NuGet. What do you think about that? So like for example, YouTube monetization. More downloads your package has, more money, more donations from NuGet you'll get.
Well, in this case, you have to have a, anyway, you have to have a sponsors, because in YouTube it works because of advertisement. Here, I don't know. I like few options. The first one, it is freemium projects, when you deliver something that is working, but you have kind of extended version which is paid. It is more or less good approach, to have a certain payment for your job.
Okay.
And another one, it is just a donation, because it is fair enough, but how to bring people onto your site, or maybe invite some investments, but to be a state-owned companies. I don't know, something like for example Avalonia, and they're still state-owned company, and they have a lot of sponsors. You can read about them, and in the main page they support them as an option, at least.
Okay.
Any another opinion?
But I think we can have the same approach like for Handfire. We have basic version Handfire supporting MS SQL, but if you want to support Oracle, Postgres, etc., please buy Pro version. And it will be available for you. The same for MAQ, as Alexander said. We can have basic version, working version, with basic tools. But if you want more, just pay.
Yeah. So that could be an option. In general, I see another problem here. It's not like, okay, so we've just discussed how we can support library maintainers, but what about like companies that potentially start consuming these community projects? I think this is a really good sign that all these community projects added in your solutions potentially could be broken at some point because of the fact that some person is not satisfied with the amount of donations that he receives. That's really scary situation for the enterprises. Yeah. So Alex,
go ahead.
No.
Please.
Okay, so my thought
just reading my mind, actually. Yeah.
How can we protect like enterprises? How can we protect our clients from being like code injected by such tricky way that they probably don't expect? We have, for example, our projects, on my projects, we have a lot of community libraries added, and potentially at some point, some of them might be violated, might be injected with some suspicious code. How can we protect our clients? How can we protect our projects?
I think that there's the only option, and this option is actually, we should realize that if we're an enterprise and we're using a community project, there can be anything happening the next day.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility whether we continue with this code and we're being always scared, or we pay for the product and then we get what we pay for. So free things are always risky, and actually they don't have to even tell you about the changes because you didn't pay them anything, not even a single cent. You're just friends. Okay, you can use their software. If you don't want, don't use it. Okay, and when you buy something, there's a contract. It's absolutely different relationship where they cannot make changes which they're not supposed to make until you stop paying them for using their product. So if you're an enterprise level company, just buy another library, or I don't know, make a contract or something. But if you're just using free software, don't expect it to be that
mature, reliable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's the sharing responsibility for sure of the owner, because like if you have a community of like more than 100,000 people, and you realize that responsibility and the trust that you get from those people to your software, all right, and you know that you're popular, all right. I mean, you're responsible for like hundreds of enterprise level projects, but at the same time, those enterprise level projects, they're commercial and you're not. So there's a choice. If you don't want to be scared, pay for the product that you're buying, or just keep on monitoring those news, and stuff like that, and maybe one day everything will crash, or some security regulations of the client will fail one day just because they added another library, and the security guys from the client side, they just didn't like that one. Okay, and you have to kind of work out something, some way around about that. But what can you expect from the person who is like not your partner, and you're like not having any commercial relationships? I mean, this is obvious, I think. So
yeah, good point. I was
and it is why
thinking,
I love freemium.
Okay, there is a clear contract because of the clear contract, right? Okay, yeah, that's good point. I was thinking about another option. So potentially, let's say you have an enterprise applications and you wanted to use some community projects. What you can do, you can probably have your own NuGet server, and you can fork potentially interested community projects to your private repositories, and you can build your own packages from the forks. So by doing this, you will be able to control the code, you will be able to control the versions, and you still will be able to kind of fetch some recent changes. So you will be also able to do some security analysis of these forked projects and so on. So you will be able to freeze on the particular version, which is not very cool, but at least a kind of solution. So yeah, I mean, this is also
one of good examples of that is actually PostgreSQL, the database, which is like open source, but you get a lot of forks, and some of them are paid. I mean, you can purchase that customized version of the PostgreSQL engine, which is like, customized for performance, for any other things.
Yeah.
If we just look at the Postgre, you can see a lot of forks in there.
Yeah.
But if you decided to go with this way, you have to spend your own resources to support the fork.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And have to explain a customer
exactly.
that we did a fork.
Yeah, so you will still have to pay like for the security audit of this forked libraries, for supporting this NuGet server, for supporting the efforts of fetching a recent code from the original repositories. Yes, this will be still an effort and money.
But nowadays, sorry, just to chip in, nowadays money is not a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, big companies, they are ready to pay for quality and safety.
Yeah.
And our goal as an engineer, Our goals as engineers is to provide them with the solution, with the way to go, with the path, with the route, with the approach that will guarantee that nothing wrong will happen with the project. And of course that costs money, but what else could they expect?
Yeah, absolutely agree, Alexei. And one more thing, I think this is the direction where a NuGet ecosystem is going. This is like improving the packaging ecosystem, because like if we take a look at the Apple Store or Google Store, right? So what we will see for each application published there, you will be able to see which capabilities this application needs. Like it needs your geolocation, it needs like some access to your data, to your storage, to your camera. So you can check what access this application needs, and you can decide whether you need this application based on that or not. So the same situation could be with the potentially could be with the community projects, because if I wanted to add the library to my project, and they see that this library is going to gather my email address, so I'm not ready for that, I can reject this one and try to find another one. So I think this is like a quite simple, and this is something that Microsoft as a maintainer of NuGet ecosystem can do, and they should definitely do that, because nobody expected that MOQ starts gathering your email address and send it somewhere. That's not expected behavior. You add MOQ because you want to build some mocks, right? Not because you wanted to check it for donations. So there should be a contract at least. And I think they are trying to do something. They added, like if you take a look at this article, they tried to add some vulnerability info API to NuGet protocol. But this is just the beginning, and I don't think there is a like path somewhere that they are going to add something like that. But I would really be happy to see something like similar to Google Store or Android sorry, Apple Store. And there was
just come to my mind. Sorry for interruption. Just have a new idea. Look, every time when you install the NuGet package into your solution, the Visual Studio showing you this, modal dialog or window where showing you all the
terms and conditions. Yeah.
Right. Maybe it is the correct place to display some, not dependency, how to call it correctly. I don't know.
To enter your credit card information. Huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. So there shouldn't be the situation when you added just a library for testing and it starts doing some unpredictable things. So okay, so this time it just checked your email address. Next time, who knows what it might do? It might like break your runtime or anything.
Actually, for me, sorry to interrupt you. For me, just a quick question. For me, it's interesting. Like the project was initially essentially was open source, right? So the open source project contained some compiled obfuscated code.
Yeah.
Why didn't they actually stop? Why didn't they block the account for that? So they don't monitor such things at all?
Yeah. A lot of questions.
I mean, they could actually scan their repository and they could have found that obfuscated code and they could just check the status of the project, and if it's open source and there's an obfuscated code, it's obviously not applicable for publishing.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be automated.
Yeah. Agree. That's a simple things that that we may
very easy
expect
to check
from. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so there was another question about this. So what can we use instead of MOQ? So on our project, we started switching to NSubstitute. I never used it before, but I think it's kind of cool. It's slightly different from its philosophy, but I think it's still it's cool. Guys, do you have any experience with this one?
Yes, I do. I also started to use it, and in a few projects you just started, and in my current project, right, kind of fresh. It was not super hard to completely rewrite everything that I have in MOQ to re-implement in NSubstitute, because they have almost the same API. It looks super familiar for me. I don't know. Works the same way, I think.
Yeah. And you can see here at the bottom of the page other libraries that you may be interested in. MOQ, so we're not interested in it anymore. Fake it easy, cool naming, really like it. And then send substitute JS. This is for Node ecosystem. Okay, so good. We finished with this one. Really interesting, hot discussion. Thanks, guys. Let's move on and let's talk about some other things, which are .NET 8 Preview 7 that Microsoft launched on August 8th. If you read this disclaimer here, you will be able to understand that this is probably the final preview of a .NET 8. And that means that all functionality of .NET 8 release is fleshed out, and now you shouldn't expect any any large changes in .NET 8. So they will be concentrated on stabilizing the release, and starting from the next version, they will switch to release candidates. So that's cool. And the goal is to complete .NET 8 work before the November 14th, which is another interesting topic that I want to discuss. Well, it's on November 14th there will be a .NET Conf 2023 where Microsoft officially launches .NET 8, and there will be some community topics around that and some topics from Microsoft. So you can save the date right now in order not to forget about that really cool event where we will have a full of .NET news. Let's quickly take a look at .NET 8 Preview 7, what is here. As I've mentioned, not too many things were added. It's almost finalized, .NET 8 release. There are a lot of changes related to system text JSON in order to make it faster, in order to make it source generated. So your serialization, deserialization will work faster with more types, and in order to reach out the parity with you can see with source generated code of system text JSON with just not source generated scenarios. From the interesting things I could mention a new interface, iHosted Lifecycle Service. Before that, if we wanted to build the background jobs in our ASP.NET Core applications, we use just iHosted service. So this one is a little more extended. It's still iHosted service, but with some more lifecycle hooks where you can add your code. That's cool. HTTPS proxy for HTTP client. Well, not too many usages of that probably, but still cool to see it. This one I really like it. Open folder dialog in WPF. After 15 years, or probably almost 20 years, they added open folder dialog in WPF. Alex, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's
so
going to be my favorite one.
Yeah.
Never do any WPF projects though. Maybe I should start because I've been waiting for them.
Because of this open folder dialog, so now you have more capabilities in your hand.
Sure. Yeah. I'll get back.
I'm not sure what's the reason to have it. So since the WPF is, originally the WPF is working only on Windows, what's the reason to have a separate open folder dialog instead of?
Just wanted to mention the WPF, here, so they had to add something.
Yeah.
Okay. We are working, no worries. We are doing.
Yeah, so there is a team working on WPF, and they need to show that they are doing something. Cool. Right, so there are some things about quality of the code generated, and yeah, so that's what in .NET in general, in ASP.NET Core. So also not a lot of things. They worked on anti-forgery middleware. So anti-forgery tokens allow you to be safe from cross-site forgery scenarios. This is a kind of man-in-the-middle type of man-in-the-middle attack. They continue to improve in native AOT scenarios to make the application running faster with faster startup, with smaller footprint. Also Blazor improvements and identity improvements related to bearer authentication. So now you can have bearer authentication and authorization without any third-party projects, which is cool. And also they added new single-page application templates in Visual Studio. And regarding native IoT, I think this is the most exciting thing that is coming in .NET 8. I really wanted to play with it, and I know that Arthur, you did some playground, some experiments with it, and you have something to show us today.
Yes, sure. Let me share my
Cool.
screen. Please let me know if you can
Yeah.
see.
We can see. We can see.
Okay. Yes. Since ASP.NET Core team is working on improving IoT completion, native IoT completion for minimal API, we made decision to compare solutions with IoT completion and without in Lambda function context. I created two solutions for different runtimes for .NET 8, 7, and 6 with retrieving data from in-memory array. As you can see, we don't have postfix DynamoDB here on the screen. And the second solution with retrieving data from DynamoDB. From the on the screen, you can see different stats. The first one is call start or not, the name of Lambda function, how many execution was, minimum and maximum of duration, and some statistics related to percentage. Yeah, how many requests were less than, for example, if in particular .NET A, 50 requests were less than 284 milliseconds, and etc. for other percentage. As you can see, at the beginning, the leader of statistics is .NET A, minimal API IoT. The average of execution was 228 milliseconds. The next solution related to retrieving data from DynamoDB. I think it's pretty standard solution for retrieving data from databases. In our case, it's DynamoDB, and etc. As you can see, is call start or warm start for warm start. As you can see, pretty similar statistics. Yeah, for each of Lambda function for each runtimes, but for IoT compilation for call start, for example, for .NET 8, approximately in 2 times faster than .NET 6 minimal
That's
API.
cool. Yeah. So you have a cold start with .NET 8 minimal API that does some DynamoDB query, and the cold start and the execution of this library is about 300 milliseconds, which is like it's good. It's a good number. It's a really good number. You can deal with it. You can like that's cool numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I think yes,
I'm really impressed.
Yeah, that's all from my side regarding this investigation. I think we can work with it, but I'd like to highlight that AWS is not supported from scratch .NET A, and to compile and package this. Not yet. To compile it and package for native IoT, you should do some stuff on your side. For example, to prepare it on Amazon Linux 2 machine, for example, or you can create a Docker file to do all stuff, install .NET A preview, and package your code to deploy it to Lambda function.
Yeah, Arthur, this is a really cool numbers, and I think you've got a really good experience with preparing these details. So probably we will do some dive into these IoT scenarios that you showed. I really impressed with the cold start. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it's so fast. Of course,
sometimes it could be really useful.
Yes. Yeah, because for .NET 6 with accent to DynamoDB, as you can see, it's faster than 3 times. And
3 times faster, yeah. Interesting. So probably even for the initialization of the DynamoDB querying code, we also can see here a noticeable improvements in I mean decrease. So when you are in a non-IoT scenario, so runtime spends a lot of time on preparing, on treating this this code that is responsible for interacting with DynamoDB, even on this in this path. So that's cool. And from the like non-cold start scenarios, it's almost the same, right? So almost no differences.
Yeah, approximately 1 millisecond to execute this code. Yeah,
very fast. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So the last bit. Let me really quick to get back to my list. So what else? So .NET Conf, we've already talked about that. You can save the date. And the last one, it's also about Lambdas. So we started conversation about Lambdas. I also want to discuss this one about new .NET Lambda annotation framework from AWS.
So I have some experience with this framework in the past, maybe a few years or even 3 years ago. It was a not very first version, but one from them. And in the past, as you can see in the code, in the past it used some interesting arguments in the every Lambda, like API gateway proxy request, some Lambda context or so. And you have to deal with it your own. I mean, you have to create your own extensions, have to sit and thinking how to work with it more comfortable, how to write some validation stuff, logging and so on. With this new approach, which I like more, because it looks like very familiar for us. It used the same wording as we use in the usual web API, .NET Web API
application. Core API, yeah.
That's right. You don't need to do some argument mapping, because in the previous approach you have to manually map some values from API gateway, map directly to to request type. Here it happens automatically. Also, it supports some code generation, which is super cool. Like this stuff, because it is a trivial work and it's super good place to code generate it, right? But last thing that I have to mention here, and I don't like it. It is a problem with a bundle. If you want to, so it is a nice start, nice framework to start writing your application using this Lambda approach. Your entire application will be kind of a set of separated Lambda function, right? Every endpoint, it is a just separate Lambda function.
Yeah.
But it has a problem with a bundle size, because you're building, solid application, and every endpoint will contains the code from the whole application, and unfortunately it affects the cold start. I don't think that it will affect the execution time, but the cold start, the problem is here.
Agree. So it's really a nice idea from AWS. It looks like very similar to what we have in ESP.NET Core MVC, right? But you need to adapt to this. You need to check all the real life scenarios. But it's cool that such an interesting ideas are coming from AWS directly, not from like Microsoft or like directly from AWS. So it looks interesting.
I like it more than how it is implemented in Microsoft side. And what interesting stuff is here, that usually AWS includes the fresh .NET version firstly, then Microsoft includes in their product. That is interesting.
It's a matter of contract.
Yeah.
Getting back to what we just started from.
Okay, we are almost at the end. I see one hand raised. So Alexander wants to say something. Alexander, I am going to unmute you. Okay. So he's not raising a hand anymore. I wanted to unmute Alexander. Alexander, if you still wanted to ask something, please raise your hand again. Okay. So probably that was occasionally. I think in general we've covered all the topics that we wanted to cover. and we can wrap up. I know that we spent 10 more minutes than the intent was, but still it was like a cool discussion around MQ. Thank you guys. A lot of interesting ideas came from you. And I think we can say some goodbye words to our community. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Have a nice
Thank you,
weekend.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.